kubetikila pano panganda leo tabampelo mutishina ndula kanono umongaisa kumana wa ukwa anje bati makishako ameshi utwale kupapa jesamba uminaonga isa ukushiku panaki wampati mula mubuka unaida kabwali Ashijanda njameni konji shibeti shika Kushe mwali ngupa bose pamona wakunoko Tabasunga no kubeti kila pano panganda Eo tabampelo mutishi na ngula panono Umonga isa kumanda wa ukwa anje bati Kamishako hameshi utwale kubapa jesamba Umbina onga isa ukushiku pakati Wa ukwa timula mubuka unaida kabwali Nangoni sakate pachuko kaino mebalume bandi Mamuno konga bai sakamo bakompole bali Nangoni sakate pachuko kaino mebalume bandi Mamuno konga bai sakamo bakompole bali Kadiri jose bakwaya pie ukula nguma pamusana Bala kwayo kukupiana mulume wandi tauna kwa Kadiri jose bakwaya pie ukula nguma pamusana Bala kwayo kukupiana mulume wandi tauna kwa Shijanda kankwele, munoni mutauni, tamabo kutila nibalukwa lwandi kabalega. Shijanda kankwele, munoni mutauni, tamabo kutila nibalukwa lwandi kabalega. Shijanda kankwele, munoni mutauni, tamabo kutila nibalukwa lwandi kabalega. Shijanda kankwele, munoni mutauni, tamabo kutila nibalukwa lwandi kabalega. Twali mugolo kwa kyonse nchale bamona twakwate chuma eryoboze balakula matina chanda kakwele tata unoni mutauni kamabo kutila ni balukwa bandi kabalega ichito balabomba pasate pe balakola elonchila timone bashita nanguka mukuka bumba chanda kakwele tata unoni mutauni kamabo kutila ni balukwa bandi kabalega ichito balabomba pasate pe balakola elonchila timone bashita nanguka mukuka bumba chanda kakwele tata unoni mutauni kamabo kutila ni balukwa bandi kabalega
Good evening to our viewers. Good morning, good afternoon to anyone that's in a different time zone. And if you are from Chilubi Island like I am, good evening as well. I know that we performed, I think was it yesterday in Parliament. We went dressed in a skirt, or I think it looked like a bit of the Lozi outfit, but I don't understand why we were dressed that way as Chilubians. But that's a bit funny. Gonna just introduce our guest, Mr. Shadrack Mushibwe. Good evening.
Good evening, Mwelwa. Good evening, viewers. Good evening.
Thank you so much for agreeing to the interview. And as we make a start, we are discussing Zambia, who we are as a people from a cultural and political point of view. So I think this is like riding on what we'd previously discussed. And this next topic is obviously a bit of a background culturally. And I'll go right in. What is culture?
Well, in a loose way, in which people themselves and by which other people identify them, distinguish them from people. That is.
All right. I think the network isn't so good. I'll just ask that you say that again.
Okay. What I was saying, I think, simply put, culture is a way in which people, a unique way in which a certain group of people live can be identified by other people.
Okay. And then what is then the difference between culture and tradition? Because I think we confuse these two all the time.
I think the two feed on it, because I think tradition is the way things, we do things. And then this thing, those around are able to make sense, which distinguish us as a people, or as a group of people. If I may put it that way.
All right. The network seems a little off. I'm wondering whether it is on my end or your end. So you feel like you're cutting in and out, but I hope that clears as we go along. You can get me clearly?
It's your phone also is not. I am not very clear because there are echo.
Okay, there's an echo.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is switched off. I'll just try and switch off that. Hello.
Hello.
Is that a little clearer?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay. So right into who we are as a people. I think from your point of view, who are we as a people, as Zambians? Who are we? Because I think the identity thing is very difficult to point at past just saying, like, you know, when somebody asks you, who are you? The automatic thing you say is, I'm Zambian, and that's about it. And then somebody asks you, well, what tribe are you? And you say the tribe you are, and it sort of ends right there. But who are we as a people? Culturally, that's where probably we can start from.
Okay. Very important actually to know who a person is and who we are. Because like a building is not as strong as its foundation. If the foundation is weak, then the building is weak, no matter how strong the material you build upon that foundation. Because at the end of the day, what is the foundation? So it is the same also with a nation or you know, there must be a foundation. And our foundation is our history, really where we are coming from. Because we cannot be where we are without knowing or having a source where we are coming from. And we cannot make life, or we cannot make sense of who we are and what we are or where we are going, knowing where we are coming from. And so as a Zambian, it is important we learn or we begin to learn to understand who we are. And more so at
Sorry, can I just stop you just there? Your sound is still a little off. I'm wondering now, because I think you have two devices on.
Pardon?
It seems like you have two devices on. Maybe that's why you have a bit of an echo coming through.
No, I've got only one. You want me to switch it off and back on?
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove one of you off.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's better now.
Okay.
Hello? That's better.
Hello,
yes, I think you're logged
hearing
in
you.
twice. Yes, I can get you.
Pardon?
I think you logged in
Yes,
twice.
it's me.
So I think that was the. Now you're a lot more clear.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
So the question was,
what I was
Zambia, who we
saying
are as
is-
a people.
Yeah. What I was saying is, you know, as a people, we must know and understand who we are. I was saying a building is just as strong as its foundation. There's no way a building is going to be strong if the foundation is weak. No matter how beautiful it might look or what kind of materials are used to build upon it, it's just as weak as the foundation. Any society that has a weak foundation or a poor foundation also cannot stand, because a society is just as strong as its foundation. So we also, as a people here in Zambia, we must know who we are, and that's the only way, you know, we are going to be strong. At the moment, because I think of the route that we took, especially at independence or towards its independence, you see many things changed. At the moment, we are living actually at a very, very critical point in time as Africans. When you, for example, when you go in the media or on internet, social media, and even books, and you want to know any information or history about blacks or Africans, the information that is there is the Africans in the diaspora. And it is like there's a concerted effort to make an Africa out of Africa. And if they refer anything back to the real Africa, it's about Egypt, the pharaohs, you know, and Ethiopia. And mostly when they talk about Ethiopia again, you find that it is not the black Ethiopians they are talking about. They will talk about Emperor Sarase and those Semitic blacks that migrated from Israel. You see, so if we are not careful, our children, because our education system is about books, internet, and all this, so the only information our children are going to access or accessing is what our friends abroad are giving out. But that's not us. So it is high time us as people, especially for ourselves as Zambians, you know, to relook at ourselves, because we have a history and we know who we are. When we talk about Zambia, you know, Zambia is a nation composed of tribes. The last time that when we are looking at the genesis of tribalism in Zambia, I did also allude to the fact that, you see, Zambia is a united nation of tribes. Yes, even the 73 tribes we've been given to say that's what we are. Actually, they were not 73. We are below that. But you see, the history that we were given, you know, it is 73. So already we see it's wrong foundation. Okay, it's wrong foundation, but it's high time that we begin to look at ourselves and to begin to understand. Because, for example, there's some of maybe about 10 or so tribes that are there from the northern province. You look at Luapula, you look at northern, you look at Muchinga, you look at central province, and also even Copper Belt. These are generally Bemba speaking groupings. So you find that, for example, in the tribes that we've been given, they are Avena Ngumbo, Avena Kavende, Avena Mukulu, Avena Chishinga. You know, in Bemba, when we say Avena Chirubi, for example, we are saying people who live in Chirubi. We don't mean a tribe. A tribe will say Ababemba, Abangoni, Abachewa, Abaushi. But Avena Kavende, we are just saying people who live in Kavende area. Those are Ush people. Okay. Avena Ngumbo, people who live in Ngumbo area. Those actually are Bemba, they came from Mukulu. Mukulu, Chishinga, these are Bemba, pure Bemba people. On that they moved away from the so-called Bemba land as we know it today. Now, I'll qualify some of this as we go on. But you see, we are the Zambians, the tribes united in the face of a common enemy. So when the whites came and brought colonialism, our forefathers in their tribes across the country we are calling Zambia, united to fight, to get the yoke these people wanted to put on us off our necks. So the only way we are going to succeed was to come together, and that is what happened. So, like I said the last time, some of these tribes are quite big, like the Bemba, you see. The Bemba land is big. It actually went up to Mbeya in Tanzania. You know, that was part of Bemba land. But there are others, maybe smaller groupings, but they are also important because they are their own country. These were countries ruled by kings, whom the colonialists actually came and changed, and they tell us these are chiefs. I mean, take for example, our president just returned from Swaziland. Look at the size of Swaziland and compare it with Bemba land. You see, they are able to say that was King Sobusa, you know, because that's what they wanted. They called him King Sobusa. With very few people, they came here. Even at that time, in the Bemba, people were around, you see, between 500,000 to 1 million. But because they wanted to define us in the way they wanted, so that we looked small, so they said these are chiefs. Okay.
Could that even explain?
See, what I'm saying is, even though they were bigger or larger and stronger nations, the others, smaller they were also important because they contributed their land just as much as the bigger tribes. And together, we came and drove them out, though the system of governance changed. So we must make sure that our children begin to understand and know this. You know, these tribes that form Zambia came into this land many, many years back. Some, like the earliest ones, the Tongas, the Ilas, we don't even have are so-called written, you say, evidence as to the years in which they came. But generally, from the writings of some of these whites, you could tell that the majority came into Zambia from, I think, around 14th century and 17th century. We have the Ushi, actually, who came around 1328. We have the Bembas, who came in 15-something. And lastly of all, we have the Ngonis, who came in 1835. Actually, on 20th November, because with them by that time, people had begun to use the Roman system of counting, as opposed to the others who came earlier. And it is difficult to actually know exactly when they came into this land. So these groups, these nations, these tribes set up their own countries and lived together in harmony. There were fightings for the land when they came, but by the time the whites came, people were living in their countries. They had social contact, of course, and trade. Okay. That's how they knew each other.
All right. So that, I think at some point you actually mentioned that even each tribe had its own national anthem and it had its own flag.
Yes. Each tribe had its own flag and even its own anthem. You know, when we were young, even before independence and after independence, at weekends on the Copper Belt and in other towns, tribes would meet and interact on social level. You know, there would be dances, and whenever each tribe was performing, they performed under their own flag. If it was the Lozis dancing Siomboka, if it was the Luvales, their Nyao dances, that's the way it was. That's the way it was. And they respected each other. You know?
Okay.
So, our forefathers, you know, had this, they came together and fought the common enemy, the white colonialists, who brought another system of governance which they didn't like. So I was talking about the coming in of these people because that might be the question. How did we come? Where did we come from? Yes, predominantly Zambian tribes come from two empires, the Lunda and the Luva Empire. This empire was in what we call today the Democratic Republic of Congo, and also some parts around Lake Tanganyika in Tanzania. So these groups came, and they were coming as families under a certain rulership. What made them migrate varies. There are some who came because they were afraid. You see, maybe some smaller tribes came and displaced them. Others, they came because, like the Bembas, the young guns, the young people, because the Bemba had a system and a trade system, so they would move to go and trade on the East Coast and found their friends living in town settings, and they wanted as well to come and implement that. But the older folk did not want, because they were afraid they would be discovered by the slavers, the Portuguese, and the Arabs. So they did not want any larger buildings to make them visible. But in the end, the young guns and the other people wanted to move out, came out. And that is the genesis of the Bemba tribes. Now, before the whites, even during the colonial times, we lived in our own countries, so to speak, in our own tribal lands, in our own kingdoms. And we had our own system, governance system. Okay. Some were democratic in the sense that things were done in a way in which the members of such tribes had recourse to justice and they lived freely. Others a bit different because probably the king was supreme and could do and say anything. You know, I'll explain this in terms of the Bembas because I've researched this. I myself, when I'm talking about the Bemba, I'm talking about all the Bemba speaking groupings.
Tribes. Okay.
The Bemba, the Bis, the Unga. Come again? Sorry, I didn't get that.
So I'm saying, my saying the different Bemba tribes is wrong. I'm supposed to actually be saying the Bemba groupings.
Yes. It's the Bemba
you can go on.
grouping. Yeah, in which when we are talking about the Bemba people, we are talking about all the people of Luapula province. We are talking of all the people of Northern province, except a few in Northern province, because there are some tribes like the Namwangas, the Mambwes, the Fipas, the Lambia. Those are not Bemba speaking. They are not part of the Bemba speaking, and then we have the Lala, we have the Bisa, we have the Unga, we have the Ushi. All these people speak the Bemba language and their source is the same. Okay, they came from the same place, but they came as families. And you know, it is similar. Most of the groupings are similar. The Bemba groupings came from Luba Lunda Empire. Now on the Luba, the Luba grouping, they are the Bembas, the Bisas, the Nsengas, the Sengas, even the Chewas. In fact, even the Tonga are thought to come from the Luba because there are certain words in their language which are similar, which are Luba, old Luba language, like Insui for fish. That is what the Bisas say as well. Fish is Insui.
Insui, yes.
So that Ichishi for island or earth, that is also what the Bemba and the people around the Ngumbo area and the Bisas also say. These are all the Luba words. Yeah, so these groupings came in from the Luba end. From the Lunda end, mostly they are from those in northwestern, apart from the Kaonde who came from the Luba. But we have the Luvales, the Chokwes, the Luchazi, the Ndembu, and others. But their family system is the same, just like the other Luba and the Lunda system, because the first empire that rose was Lunda. Then later on, the Luba hived out. So their way of living is the same. So when people came, they came in families. They came in families, yes, and each family had its own leadership. Of course, there was for example, the Bemba. Chitimukulu and Nkolei's brother were sons of a king, and they initiated the moving out to come and look for new land. So other families who wanted to move out joined them. Some were generals, some were merchants, some were blacksmiths. It's different kinds of families. So they moved out together under the leadership of Nkole, because Nkole was the older brother to Chiti. But when they came and crossed when they came to Matanda in the Mansa area, in the Ushi area, when they crossed, they were assisted by Chief Matanda, and they crossed the Luapula River. So Chitimukulo, he shot, you see, he shot his arrow in a tree and claimed leadership over his brother. That's why he's called Chiti the Great. Chitimukulu means Chiti the Great. So
Okay.
as they settled, these families, you see, also, you know, they identified in clans. They are identified in clans, and each clan has its own totem. A totem is a symbol. For example, the ruling clan, Chitimukulu's clan, Venangandu. So Venangandu Bonse, that is a family by DNA, by blood.
Yeah.
Yes. So there are about 30 to 35 clans that make the Bemba family or the Bemba tribe. The royal group Venangandu, and Ababisa on the other hand, the royal group for Ababisa, Venangona. Ingona is a crocodile. Ingandu is crocodile. So you can see these two are actually one and the same.
A bit similar, yes.
Okay. Yes. So when they came, the land that they conquered or they got, they divided amongst clans. Some clans were big, some clans were stronger, some clans were richer, and things like that. But each clan had enough land because that was their wealth. You see. So if a clan had, for example, 200 people, each person in that clan was given land big enough to live on. So as they lived in villages, these clans began to live in villages. These villages, only people from that clan would live there. The only people apart from the DNA or blood-related relatives in this village would be the people that have just married in that clan. Now, Zambian tribes are divided into two groups. It's either matrilineal or patrilineal. The tribes that follow patrilineal, they count their members through the woman. Most of these Lubalunda tribes are matrilineal. We are counted through our mothers. So if my mother, for example, is Avena Mumba, so I will adopt, I'll fall under Avena Mumba. If my father is Avena Mfula, I won't get my father's clan. So the land or my wealth is on my mother's side. We have a few tribes like the Ngoni, the Lozi, the Tonga, the Tumbuka. I think they have about 5 or so who are patrilineal. So what is obtaining to the matrilineal, you just flip it if you are patrilineal.
Okay.
Yes. So if you are, for example, if you are Ngoni, your inheritance is on your father's side. So when they settled, when the Ngoni settled where they are, Mtembuleni and all that area, even part of Malawi, so the families were given land. So the Ngonis, they count themselves on the father's side. So today, though, I mean, I've seen there's an awakening about possessing land by most of our children, especially in town. When you are in the bush around, you find people asking, is there land to sell? I want to buy some land. Fine. But one thing is, because we have never been explaining, and I think the buck starts and stops at us, your parents. We've never told you, you have land. There's no single Zambian coming from any tribe who has no land. Free. It's not something that you can buy with money. It is something that is given you by inheritance. For example, because I am from a Bemba tribe and I'm counted through my mother. So in the village where my mother lived, for example, we were 9. My mother's mother had about 7 children. She also had a mother, and I don't know how many they were. So when they came, whoever my ancestor was given enough land, and then they began to subdivide. For example, if one has 5, he divides his land amongst his 5 children. Then those 5 children, according to if they are women, 3 women, and they've got 15 children amongst them, that family land is divided in 15 parts. So if you ran out of land, there is reserve land. So you go and claim from your chief. Yeah. So that's how our tribes lived. So there's no single Zambian. If you are Luchias, for example, there is land in your country. I'm sorry I'm using these terms country just to make you understand. You see, these nations, these tribes that make Zambia have got boundaries and have got land, which you cannot just get because you are a Zambian. You get my point? Yes, we are all Zambians, but you see, we still have this where we come from. I know there have been attempts by politicians that no, we are no longer, for example, we are no longer Lamba. We are no longer Lenje. We are no longer Tonga. We are no longer Chewa. We are just Zambians. You see, this is confusing. In fact, one writer, a novelist, a French novelist said, you know, if history, it says history is in 2 parts.
Yeah.
If history is official, it's a lie. But if it is secret and people are pressing it, that's the truth. Because I'm sure even now some of the people who are listening are thinking, well, this guy is a tribalist. I'm not. I'm just telling you the truth.
Actually, there's somebody who's actually even commented and said, Zambia is one, so why do we need such a program? What is the benefit of this? So I think it's good that you've actually explained. So Mr. Grayson Shilukowo, that's the answer.
Anyway, you are breaking a bit, but what I'm saying is, you see, even though these groups came together to form Zambia, we still live in our areas, and we live according to the way our forefathers handed to us. You know, life is not just sudden. You are not just born there and then you are blank, then you begin to exist. No. you know, you find when we come into this world, other people have been before us.
Definitely.
And they've left us something. Okay. So that is our inheritance. Of course, time changes. We get what we have found, the inheritance from our forefathers, and then we begin to make sense of how we can make use of that and progress, because life continues. It's not static. But you can, again, you cannot go into tomorrow by just being today, because today also, you know, there's a yesterday. So that's why there's so much confusion among the young people today. You know, sometimes you begin asking yourself, why are our young people just killing themselves? One just commits suicide, and you know, and when you hear about the reasons, they are frames. It's because the foundation is a lie. You know, we, for example, we have now our children being, you see, fashioned by what is being called, you know, the global village. You know, the media that we have, the movies that we watch, everything is Western. So our children try, you see, this Western kind of life, because that is what they are consuming. That's the information they are being given. So they are trying to make sense of life. But to fit in the Zambian context, for example, I mean, last month, one of our elderly ladies reacted to some young ladies who are, I mean, they are just showing their private parts open and things like that. You see, because to them that is trending. When they see Westerners doing that, then they pick it up. But now, in this context, it is not part of us. And now, when people rise like that, you see, it is easy for such young people to begin to think, well, I'm a misfit. And they can kill themselves because they find that they are misfits. But it's because the foundation on which our young people are supposed to stand is being taken off their feet, you see, and they stand on something that is not real. So it is important that we, as the elderly people, so we begin to put things right. We tell our children the truth. For example, you see, there are people right here, for example, in Lusaka. Their parents were born in a shanty compound. They've been born in a shanty compound, and now their life, as far as they are concerned, is so hard. They begin to think, okay, maybe I can go and do some farming, but they don't have money to go and buy land. But because they have no clue that actually there is land for them for free in their villages. Because if they go back to their village, doesn't matter which tribe, you go back to your village. You see, the last time I talked about the national registration card, the green national registration card that you possess, this is the meaning. Okay, it has your name. You are the owner of that the green national registration card. It has your tribe. So it tells you you belong to that tribe. Then it has a village, a specific village. So it's telling you, this is where your blood relatives are. This is your root. This is where you come from. Even if your father, your grandfather never went back. So the card is telling you, this is you. This is where you belong. So then it has the chief.
Okay.
And it has a district. You see, it is telling you that you are not lost. You have a root. This is where you came from. If you go back to your village, say if it is Kasongo village in a particular location, a district, you see, there might be Kasongo villages all over Zambia, but a reg specifies which Kasongo village you belong to. So when you get there, they are going to ask you, if they don't know you, for example, who are you? Oh, my name is James Chaongopa. Chaongopa, yes. Who is your father? Oh, my father was Peter this and that. Your mother this and that. If it is the Bemba, they only ask you one question. What clan are you? For example,
so
my clan is, yeah, my clan is Ndimwina Nshe. Nshe is a name for locusts. Makanta, it's an old Bemba word for Makanta. So that's it. Oh, Ndimwina Nshe, yes. Banoko, I tell them, oh, Nikasote Mwelwa. That's it. They will even show me, oh, this is your land. This is your mama's land. And these people, even if people are using it, because in the absence of me being there, they will vacate because each one has their own land. So there's no need for somebody to begin thinking that because I'm in George compound, I am done, and someone gets a rope and hangs themselves. It's because the history that we've been handed, or that we have handed to our children through politics, is wrong. So that is the way it is. We have where we come from, and there's nothing tribal about it. That's our heritage. But I'm not saying, for example, because I'm Bemba, therefore others, the Tongas, are not. No. You see, the same way that I'm talking about the Bemba land, that's the way it is with the Tonga land. Okay. And as a people, you see, the beauty of a nation, it comprises different types of people with different types of abilities, skills. You know, just look at maybe Botswana. Botswana, the British left, and it was quite very poor. I think maybe 5,000 times poorer than Zambia. But you see, they did not abandon their history, their roots. They continued and began making sense of the new phenomenon that had come about, of of a nation, people coming together. And then they looked at each tribe's strengths, and they found that their strength was in cattle rearing. And they struck a business deal with with the UK. And they've been trading in beef since. And that led to them discovering now mines and whatever. And they're one of the richest countries on earth, Botswana. We also, as Zambians, that's the way we should look at ourselves. But like you see, the Bemba, they had their own strengths. We were the people mining copper. Like you see, the tribe, my father's clan, Abenamfula, they were miners. They were the people who were mining copper, make copper ingots, and go and sell at the East Coast. Even today, in Daddy's village, there are copper ingots.
Yeah. And we don't get this that copper is identified by the colonialists when they come into Zambia. This knowledge isn't existing.
No.
We know it, but we don't. No one tells you.
Copper was not discovered by the whites when they came into Zambia. In fact, Baluba, copper mines, it is the Lambas, the people who are mining there, who led these people there. But you see, because they changed the history.
Yeah.
Zambians were mining copper, and they were smelting copper. They had the technology. It's on that the whites, they commercialized it.
Okay.
So what we are supposed to do, like you see, we have the Ilas, we have the Tongas, we have the Ngonis, we have the Tumbukas, who are cattle rearers. You know, that's their strength. And together, if we came together, we've got also the Lozis, we've got the Rundas, and each and every tribe, they had their own strengths that we were supposed to put together, harness, and use that to earn the money that we needed or the wealth that we needed. But you see,
unfortunately, I think it equally feels like we, in breaking off rural and urban areas, we are now at loggerheads with each other. Because sometimes I always wonder when we say, oh, they're from the village. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking village. It made sense when I was younger, but when I'm older, I'm looking at it and thinking, why are we actually saying village? Because I think there's even a bit of a lower connotation to someone being from the village. And now we don't even understand each other. I know the village, the people in the rural areas will laugh at us in the urban areas because they say, what are these people doing? Because we've actually even deviated so much from who we are, like you're saying. We don't even identify with whatever our strengths are. So I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yes, you see, there is a divide actually. We are parallel, we live in two parallel lives. You see, in the villages, they know the history, like I'm explaining. You know, I was just explaining that you see, these families that make tribes, you see, they came and put their lot together and made a tribe. For example, the 35 plus clans of the Bemba speaking clans, they came together and formed the Bemba grouping. Within that Bemba group, for example, in my clan, the Venanche clan, each clan has historians, the people who know where they came from, the people who know each person. Even today, if we went to the village, all the people that come from my village, although nowadays there are books, but in our days when we were born, there was no village register. But these historians or scribes, mental scribes, they kept the history. Each clan, they kept their history. So now when the mines started, you see, the town life started. The town life was made in such a way by the colonialists to lure young people from the villages to come and work for them. You know, when you look at the jobs that we get offered, the working of the Western world is based, is planned on the premise that get cheap labor. You know, after the abolition of slavery, there was nowhere they are going to get free labor. So the guys sat down and came up with a system of finding poor people, make them work and pay them, but not enough. Because if you pay them enough, then they'll stop coming. And it is difficult and expensive to train people. So they made sure that they only give you a bit, so that not even to take you through a month, so that you keep on coming back. This is the jobs that we do. And we have taken it as Africans, both hook and line. You see? But previously, as people came into town, they began to lose their morals in the sense of connectivity with the villages where they came from. I mean, cosmopolitan life is just this, like that, because you meet other people who have got other values, who see life differently, and the clash of cultures and things like that, you see. So, in fact, previously, the people that kept being laughed at was people in town. So, as you grew as young people, if you are a delinquent, we got sent back to the village to go and be re-educated and moralized. But after the dawn of independence,
yeah,
because power had to be taken away from villages. Remember, these kings ruled; they had power. But the new order that the whites left, they coached them how to handle things. So they made sure that now the table turned. You know, we began laughing at people from the villages.
and
Just
which is
like
very strange,
today, you
because
find that
not strange, but I think we could probably, I beg your pardon, we could actually draw parallels on this one, because the Nigerians are still doing that. If you're in the West and you have children and you notice that your child is behaving a certain way, you send your child back to Nigeria to have them I don't know, it's realigned or reintroduced to, or sort of realize who they are, or I'm drawing some parallels there. And I think it's interesting because somebody has just commented, and this is Larry Mills, who says a bit long, says, times have changed and your explanation made sense yesteryear. Clans are only relevant in poor village settings that have little bearing to today's existence. Frederick Chiluba once said that tribe is only for identification, similar to what a person's name is for nothing else. So emphasizing of clans, tribe, and tribal divisions brings out separation Zambia is looking to moving away from, which is very strange, because when I look at the Nigerians who are sending their children back to Zambia, they seem better off than we are. So then this explanation, well, this comment by Mr. Larry Mills is at loggerheads on our explanation and how you've put it, where you're sending somebody back to, to your village to have you you use the term remoralized, or to actually get an identity before you lose your identity. And I mean, we can identify a Nigerian anywhere under the sun. They don't care that they're in the UK or they're in China. They would dress up in their outfits and they will speak in their languages as proudly as they can. So I think this comment sort of shows us a lot of the variances where we think there's no need to know who you are, when actually that puts you at a better stead if you know who you are, wherever you're going to go in the world.
You see, look at the Americans. Just being an American, you see, that gives them something. You see, their foundation. You see, as individuals, we are talking about here. You see, your background matters. You see, it gives them just that. You know, we are saying, you see, look at our friends from Asia. For example, Indians. You see, you see, their foundation defines them who they are. Look at you as a Zambian. Can anybody identify you as a Zambian without asking you? What makes you be identified as a Zambian? Nothing.
Nothing. I have to say it. In fact, sometimes when I say I'm Zambian, somebody will say Gambian, or they say Zimbabwean. They never do even settle on you on your nationality first time.
Yes. You see, this is why I'm not saying let's go back maybe to wearing 3 bags to what. No. You see, what I'm saying is, unless we begin to understand who we are, where we are coming from, we will always be nothing. We will try to interpret our life by other means or other things, but you see, we won't get anywhere because we are not that thing. You see, like I'm saying, we are a nation, and we must be very proud of who we are. Our forefathers gave us something, and that's something we cannot hope to throw away and think we can be normal. No. Because it takes centuries. It takes a lot of time and many years to build a people. So, as Zambians, especially us who are in the 60s above, see, it's high time we told our children who we are. Our children must know the truth, not this rubbish that has been given them in schools. A history that is devoid of the truth. For example, the last time I was saying, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, to me, is not the father of the nation. And some people were offended. You see, what I meant was, this country did not start with Kaunda, as the history starts, because this history was made actually in the late 70s, where now one person was taken and portrayed as the champion for the nation. For example, one point is, it is portrayed that Dr. Kaunda, with his guitar and his bicycle, he traveled all over Zambia, organizing people to come together so that we fight for independence. In all honesty, Zambia is very big. Do you think Kaunda or any person can cycle a bicycle from Lusaka? How long can it take from Lusaka to Kabu? Because that is the nearest town. You see? Yeah. So that's how they fall, because our children, okay, we can peddle this history, but our children are not fools. They will sit down and begin thinking, I think this is not adding up. So because of such things, you see, then they will throw this history out because they know it is not feasible. It's not, it's just one of those things. Okay, so many people have that kind of history. In fact, even today, I like reading and studying. There's a module I read about the philosophy of education, and in it is a portion ascribed to Zambia that our nation, the philosophy is humanism. If I asked just 10 of our young children, what is humanism? Is Zambia philosophy humanism? You have no clue, because that is not our philosophy. You see, we need to begin to understand and know who we are, not basing our history on a faulty foundation. You see, we must understand we are a nation of tribes, and we must be very proud of those. And we must never look down on each one of those nations or tribes that form Zambia, whether they are big, strong, weak, or small. We are all very important. We must look inwards. We must look at ourselves. It's high time we begin to look at ourselves to see the strengths that we have. We have got rivers in this nation, and some of these tribes are custodian of some of the sources of these rivers or the entire rivers. We have, for example, us the Bembas. That's why this name actually did not even come from ourselves, but because they found that we love staying around water masses. So we have for example, we've got Lake Bakwetu, we've got Lake Mwelwa, we've got Lake Tanganyika, and we've got Wapula River, we've got Chambeshi River. We live around waters. You see, so these are the things we are supposed to begin to look at and see how we can actually harness our strengths as a people and move forward, not to look down upon each other, and so in the process try to think that we can begin to live in a new way. You see, when a language changes, your understanding also changes. We waste 12 years. We waste 12 years plus another 4 years. For example, in schools, I've seen some of the people, our children, and even from our era, where you go, for example, you begin to study maybe astronomy, and then there's nothing. Okay, so we must actually begin to look at ourselves. What things can we do with understanding that we can actually be able to use to advance ourselves? Like you see, like we are saying, look at our friends in East Africa, look at our friends in West Africa. Them, they did not lose this connectivity with the village. They know and they understand that each one of them has a shamba, has a farm in the village. Every Friday, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Kenya, Uganda, every Friday they are going to the village. And their mansions are not in the slimes and in the compounds of filthy Lusaka. Their mansions are in their villages.
In the rural areas, yeah.
Yes, you see, that's how development has gone out. You see, and in those villages, they know they know they are not being asked to pay tax. For example, we see, Zambia, 6%, only 6% of Zambia's land is in the hands of the government. The rest is in the hands of chiefdoms. You see, but because the history is confused, that's why, for example, Royal Highness Chieftainess in Komesha, who happens to be to have part of Lusaka in her kingdom, when she is sick, you want her to pay in her own country, in her own land. Doesn't make sense. We need to come back to our senses, because that's the only way we're going to begin to do things correctly. I'm not advocating that probably maybe we break up as Zambia. No. We are one, but we come from different groupings. And these different groupings, each one must know that this is where I come from. Okay, and begin to understand and appreciate themselves as people, so that they are not, they are not pushed here and there and wish-wash. No, that's not the way it's supposed to be. We are supposed to be people who understand and know who we are.
Would I be right then to say that you're an advocate for as many of us young people to go back to our villages and take advantage of the land?
Precisely. Why not? Why should you, for example, why should you pay 250,000 kwacha to buy a piece of land? Maybe that is only 20 by, maybe 50 by 50. Mind you, you are growing. And one day, because this is the nature of work, they took us away. You see, before, let me just be categorical. Before 1955, 57, there was no hunger in Zambia. You see, hunger is manufactured purposely so that they control you. Here we are in towns. There's land out there. And in the village, because what has been put in our mind is that in the villages, that is backwards. Those people are backwards, and in most cases, the pictures that they give us is people with torn clothes and things like that. So we don't want to be like those. The other day, somebody on social media posted a sitting in Africa, and then they say, this is Africa. Then Ramshako and says, oh, this is how the Western media portrays Africa. You get the point? Exactly that same thing has been put in our mind about where we are coming from. You know, I like farming. So every rain season, I plant maize and things like that. I don't like buying meal. Yes.
Yeah.
But the past three years or so, the rain pattern here in Lusaka hasn't been very good. But my wife comes from Eastern Province, you know. So what we do is when we notice we are not going to get enough bags of maize to take us through, we buy from there. In the villages, these people have got land, they plant, and they've got the food for the year.
Yeah. What
they sell to the government or whatever, that's what they use for social life. That's how our life was before independence.
And they earn more than we do. If you sat down to calculate how much a fisherman maybe from northern Luapula province is getting, they get more than we do. It's just that they might not have a bit of the financial discipline and stuff like that, but they earn more than we do here in town.
We have to rewind our minds, because we've been told, you see, that without money you can't live. There are many people, in fact, on Earth, this planet Earth, the majority live without money because they produce their own food. And the money that they get is just for clothes and to socialize. So they have 6 months to work, 6 months to play. Whilst us here, we have 12 months to suffer. And they will keep on giving us just a little bit so that you don't, you see, it's a web. It's a web. So let us be wise, just like our friends in Kenya, just like our friends in West Africa. You have got land, young people. You've got where you came from. Instead of you wasting that maybe 500,000 to buy 20 hectares so that you can have a farm. Because if you buy, for example, you know, you are buying 250 a plot to build your house. You are growing. One day you are going to stop work. And you know very well, your pension will never sustain you for your life. And as you grow, your body also begins to get tired. You have seen how, astronomical the health fees are. So be wise. Invest that kind of money back home. After all, at the moment there, the labor is cheap. You don't necessarily have to go and live in your village. You can just get a portion of land and live by yourself. You see, this land is vast. When you are going to the northern province, you find stretch after stretch of land without people. But you see that land, though there are no people, you cannot just go and begin living there. It is under a certain clan. They will come and say, no, you get out. Because here in Zambia, that's not the way we live. You know, I bought a piece of land in Chieftainess Mungule. And most of us have bought pieces of land there.
Yeah.
So when a person dies who is not Lenje, you know, and naive as we are, we think because there are burial places there, we want to bury our dead there. They say, no. You can't. You go and bury in Lusaka. in the city area. This is how we are. Let us not pretend. The last time I made mention that, you see, some people were not happy. They were saying Mama Bet Kaunda was supposed to be buried in Chinsali at Kaunda's Shambalakari. I said it's not possible because Mama Bet Kaunda is not part of the clan, the owners of that land. Neither Kaunda himself. When Kaunda was president, he built that mansion of his. It's a palace at Shambalakari.
Yeah.
But you see, he couldn't go back and live there. You see, in spite of him, whilst he was president, ignoring our roots, ignoring the history that made him, he went across, and tried to think this can easily be abolished. It can't. You see, we are people, we've got a foundation, we've got where we've come from. So unless we begin to understand, so we must wake up. What I'm telling you, young people, go back and ask your parents. Your parents have the proper history. They will tell you who you are. If they can't, they will point you to somebody.
Somebody that can.
Yes, because that's the way how we are. Like I said, every clan, among us the members, for example, we the Benanshes, our history is totally different from Abenangando, whose history is totally from Abenango, which is Abenango, Ngo is leopard. So, and we came to the Congo Basin from different areas, but they formed one empire, and a language evolved, which we are calling Luba or Bemba in Zambia, but in Congo it is Luba. It's similar. So,
okay.
You see, we've got these people in our villages. They will tell you who you are. They will tell you the truth as opposed to living a lie. It's quite painful to see, for example, you see, here's the question I was talking about, these young ladies, because they see on TV these Westerners, the blacks, probably, walking naked and doing things that, and they earn a living because it is acceptable where they are.
Yeah.
But don't forget, you live in Zambia. The moment you see, the time is going to come. For example, last time, one of them actually stood as an MP, and we all stood up and said no, because we knew her character. But the former ruling party, what did they say? They wanted.
They said she had reformed, she was Christian, yeah.
Yeah, what she did came back to bite her. You see, but instead of learning from that, she's now even tuned the volume up. You see, one day she would want, if at the moment maybe life is okay, but life being what it is, because it's real, she would want to get married. No one would want to marry somebody who has been parading her nakedness in the open. Because this is how we are. We are Zambians. She might want employment. In as much as we would say, all right, maybe we make mistakes as people. You employ somebody. When people come out, they'll say, this one. So these people here are just the same. So because of that stigma, you get chased out. We got to be wise. We got to understand. We got to know who we are. We've got our own standards. Yes, I'm not, like I said, I'm not advocating that Zambia maybe breaks up. No. But everything is possible. We are living in very hard times. Everything can be possible. We've got people talking rubbish. like the previous regime, who kept on, you know, saying people from southern province, they are this and that and what have you. Imagine if the southerners just said, well, we want out of Zambia. They can.
That's possible, yeah.
They can if they want to. You see, so we must be people who are sane. But even then, if the West came to the West, if you see, if you are not knowledgeable, if you do not have knowledge of who you are, you suffer a lot.
Yeah.
So let us know and understand who we are as Zambians and live in harmony, not only in harmony, but also, you see, use what we have together. It is high time that we stopped thinking that politics is about making champions. You know, look at it this way. Kaunda fought very, very hard. When I'm saying Kaunda, I'm talking about UNIP because it's a symbol of the party. They fought very, very hard to abolish chiefship or kingship. Okay? So that the power was in their hands. The power was concentrated. You see, the British, before they left, they deliberately made a constitution that gave power almost 100% in the hands of one man. And they coached him, and they coached him well. Okay?
Yeah.
But you see, because we as people, you cannot just do that, click a hand, and then we change.
Everyone falls, yeah.
So in the end, the same person who was saying we don't want chiefs, and even, you see, we had the House of Chiefs was supposed to be a regulating body. If Parliament passes a law that conflicts with who we are, the House of Chiefs was supposed to say no or yes before it is implemented. But because the chiefs were saying those things, they stood as a door, a guard, to protect our customs, to protect our culture. They disbanded the House of Chiefs.
Wow.
And because we have where we are coming from. What did they begin now claiming now? They are the chiefs, isn't it? They began saying they were the Kaunda was the chief. Even the previous one, Lungu and the others, they were claiming they are the chief of Zambia. They are not. You see, because that's how we interpret life. Our supreme leaders are chiefs, not these politicians who are So we must come to a point where first we understand who we are, then we interpret maybe the political system in and by our way of life, so that you see, we are not just cropping in the darkness like we are doing today. No, it shouldn't be like that. In fact, I started from this because, you know, last time I just concentrated on looking at where the question of tribalism came.
We're coming from, yes. Yeah.
Yes. So, God willing, if you give me a chance in the next one, I want us to address the question of our political side. Okay, where we are coming from. Yes. How we came to 1964 to get independence. How, you see, because I started from just the social part of it, who we are as a people. We are tribes from who migrated into this nation many centuries ago. And we have systems by which we are brought up. a cosmopolitan type of life came about because of independence. This has been crashing with who we are, and we are getting nowhere. And sometimes we are just using it even to hate ourselves further. Like, you know, the dangerous part we were in the previous government, where we begin to talk about one tribe or other tribes as less or evil just because of politics. Okay? So we must actually understand. I'm appealing to those of us who are elderly. You say our children are there to be taught. Our children are there to be guided. We are the problem because we have sat quietly for too long, seeing wrong things coming. You know, our children, even today, you find that if we are initiating them from birth, they are before a TV. You know, and these TV movie programs, they are education. You see, they are a package. They are lessons packaged to nurture and bring up a human being. So let us understand. Our children, we cannot hide before ourselves. You know, we are thinking speaking English is is a status, but we know it's nothing. It's just a language to express ourselves. In fact, I would even lobby if I was given a chance. I would lobby that we find one Zambian language, or even a couple of Zambian languages, so that we throw out foreign languages. They have no use to us. You may say, no, how are we going to learn? How do other nations learn?
Yeah,
they learn because
you find that they're just translated. Yeah,
we can translate, yes, because you know, for you to interpret something, you need to think. You said we think first and foremost in your mother tongue. You know, that's why when something terrible happens, you are going to cry in your mother tongue. If you hit your toe against a stone, you are going to, if you are Lozi, you are going to say it in Lozi, because that is who you are. That is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you are in deep sorrow, you are going to cry, you know, from the being. Yes.
Yeah.
You see, this is what I'm talking about. Let us not cheat ourselves.
It feels very funny now, because then you look at us who we don't even cry in our mother tongue. We cry in the English language because that has become our mother tongue, sort of, because that's what we learned first, or that's become predominantly the language you are, assimilating in and thinking in, unfortunately.
This is true, yeah. That's why I'm saying this is what we have done. Our children from year 1, year 0, they are before a TV. Okay, you see, because that is how we perceived life to be. You know, we wanted to us, the better life was to be like whites, to live in Kablonga as like whites, and we exerted our efforts towards that, and we achieved it, isn't it? So, but now, so what? So what?
Nothing. We're just there.
Yeah, and we kept on passing it to our children. You see, those of us who had a bit better jobs, we took our children to better schools, Copperbelt Trust schools and things like that. Although there's nothing really wrong about that, but our thinking was wrong. Because, you see, we were thinking, okay, if they can have good English and what have you. But we have to realize that what makes us is not the English we learn. It's not living in Kablonga. It is who we are.
We really are, yeah.
Yes, we begin to understand.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For this insight, and there's so many comments. Mary Kingdom Changer says, I'm enjoying the topic. Mr. Wakumelo wa Simbitwane Akalambili says this Bemberman is an asset. Do more programs with him for documentation of this knowledge. We've had somebody, probably these are more towards the positive. We've had, I think, equally Mr. Larry Mill, who has been a bit, he didn't really agree with us as much, but that's still okay. I think anything healthy in a discussion, we're supposed to have both the positive and the negative. So to those that were listening to us, contributing, adding on, sending the stars, thank you so much. I'll just ask you for your last words, Mr. Mshibwe.
I think my appeal would be, young people, do not just spend all your time on the social media or internet, Googling facts. You can do that, it's okay. But go back, you see, speak to your parents. Even what I've spoken about today, do not just take it because somebody with gray hair has spoken it. Please, please check it out, because it's very, very important for you as a human being. Okay, for you as a person. You are more than the material things. You know, this world is not the way it seems. And you got to be wise. And what is going to make you interpret life or make sense of life? First of all, like I said, you know, we have the speaking of mankind. You know, that is man, since the day one of mankind, man has been finding out the essence of life, how to live and things like that. So we have all those things, but as we get those things, see, what really helps us better is from our roots, where we are coming from, our ancestors, what the values that they've handed down to us. You know, life changes, truth changes with time, and as we interpret it. So please make sure that you also learn to read, because as Zambians, we don't read. That's the problem. There's a lot of resource. Many Zambians have written about some of these things, but you need to work it out. Yes, it is true. I've spent the past 15 years, I've been writing a lot of things, though I haven't published any of these things. But please, please, ask your parents. Ask your parents. Those of you who have no parents, in the sense that probably something has happened. There are some people maybe from your tribe. Ask them. And don't allow anyone to push you down thinking probably because you come from another tribe, they think it's not important. They are the ones who are not important. You are very important, because your parents, they saw the need to work together with others to bring about this nation, so that we, their children, could have a life, one that let us not lose who we are because of the now. The now cannot define us. The then, where we are coming from, yes, defines us. But where we can change to improve on things, we change to improve on things for our own selves. Thank you. I think I'll end there.
Thank you so much. And as usual, thank you so much for the time that you spent with us and that you agreed to this as well. Thank you so much. I know this is like, for me, it's relearning. So and then I have to also get you to freely speak. So I know somebody asked, why are you not asking him questions? But I think because he has a line that I'm equally hanging on and holding on, that he holds on. Please, may we have details for Mr. Musho? So people are asking for your details. And I think there are a couple of questions as well. I'll hand them over to you. I think probably you can also equally follow them. So to those who are listening, to our viewers, those who shared, those who have been commenting. Thank you so much to those who have been commenting, and those that have sent stars or are yet to. Thank you so much, and have a good evening or the rest of the night. A good morning to others and a good afternoon to many others that are listening to us. So thank you so much and good night.